Okay, why don't we understand the ecological facets of our predicament and of life in general? Is it just because we are preoccupied with our own personal interests, or is it something more serious than that? I think it's both. Obviously, when I get into the car and I start up the engine, I step on the gas and I go someplace, I don't most of the time think about all of the effort of all those people out there drilling oil wells and pumping oil out of the ground and shipping it to a refinery and producing gasoline. I just think of where I'm going and the pleasure I'm going to have, or the purchase I'm going to make, or whatever. So preoccupation with the routines of life is, of course, a major obstacle to people thinking the things that it's becoming increasingly important that people do think about. But in addition to that, we have been through a period of history in which expansion was tantamount to progress. The fact that every little town aspired to become a city, and the fact that the country was growing and becoming more powerful, and the fact that we were becoming more and more prosperous. And we compare ourselves with our colonial ancestors and we think, what great progress we have made, and so on. It means that the whole approach to the study of history has been a non-ecological approach. We have simply been preoccupied with the political aspects of it and with the economic aspects of it, with the fact that we advanced from being an agrarian society to being an industrial society.
The biggest question always in my mind was how to understand the Industrial Revolution, because everything up to that point is pretty easily comprehensible. We figured out agriculture 10,000 years ago, and gradually the population increased as we spread out across the planet and spread agriculture with us and so on. But then 200 years ago, with the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, it's like everything goes haywire. The human population goes from fewer than 1 billion to 6.5 billion. And the scale of the human impact on the environment increases exponentially as well. So again, how to explain that? Well, I tried, looking into the history of capitalism and looking into our mythological, psychological interaction with nature and so on. But then finally, in 1998, I read a paper in Scientific American by Colin Campbell and Jean-Laurent Herrera titled The End of Cheap Oil. And for the first time, I began to understand the role of energy in human social evolution. And for several years, I studied this and read books. And I realized that this was the key to understanding everything that's happened in the last 200 years, that fossil fuels are the essence of the Industrial Revolution. So that creates a problem because fossil fuels are inherently finite. Oil was created, 90 to 150 million years ago, and we're drawing down that stock of highly concentrated fuel in an amazingly short period of time. What's 200 years compared to 150 million years? And that oil is going to be gone virtually by the end of this century. So the 20th century was all about using more of the stuff. And it was the great petroleum fiesta, one time only in the history of our species. The 21st century is going to be all about how that party winds down. This is the most serious problem to face the human race since we've been human.